Hey, I'm Steve Sapato, and you're listening to The Happiness Agenda. I hope you're watching us too, but if you're not watching us or listening to us on podcasts, is probably one of the best things you can do because we're here to help you make your life a lot better. And by that, I mean in every aspect. Today, I absolutely have a fabulous guest on. And matter of fact, I just started a program now that I hope works into what he's going to bring to you. So I'm bringing you an expert on, let's see now, if I can remember what I wrote down, expert on your relationship with food. That's a problem I really have. So without further ado, here's Glenn Livingston.
Hi,
Glenn.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you, Glenn. I mean, Glenn's been on a long time ago, and he's back because I was watching something on Facebook the other day, and it showed the bodies of the high school kids from the 1960s, where they'd go through the rungs, they'd climb the ladders, and they were all, nice, thin, athletic type people, and now we're all chubbos, right?
Happens with age, yeah. Well, Steve, I don't know if you ever passed by the Woodbury Country Deli in Syosset, New York, but if you were there in the 90s and they were out of pizza or chocolate, the odds are I was there before you. Which is my cute way of saying that I'm not just a doctor who decided to work with overeaters, that I had a serious problem myself. I was almost 300 pounds and rosacea and eczema and cardiovascular risks and all types of bad blood levels, and my doctors were very unhappy with me. But I went through the traditional routes to try to figure it out. I'm a psychologist from a family of psychologists and psychotherapists, and
yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna jump in, make sure people know. We're gonna be talking about how to help you lose weight today, or how to control your weight, or how to do what you want to do with your body. It's really important that we understand what our body does so that we can figure out how we can help it be healthier, happier, have better relationships, have better lifestyle. And that's what Glenn does. And Glenn started off by saying he wasn't too healthy a while back. And I'm 20 pounds down from my heaviest weight, Glenn, but I still got another 40 pounds to go, right? So I'm sorry to interrupt, but go ahead.
That's okay. I'll try to make it short. So I through a long series of efforts and going to the best therapists and doctors and psychiatrists and Overeaters Anonymous, I came to the conclusion that I was not going to be able to love myself then. I thought you could take a very deeply psychological route, and there must be a hole in my heart, and that's why I keep trying to fill the hole in my stomach. And if I can just figure that out and heal that, and it didn't work. I had a very rich spiritual journey. I think I became a better person in a lot of ways because of it, but I get a little thinner and a lot fatter, a little thinner and a lot fatter. And
the yo-yo, that's what they call a yo-yo, isn't it?
Yeah. And eventually I had to switch the paradigm to being more of the alpha dog of my own mind. And what convinced me to do that were three things. I've been consulting for the big food industry, like Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies in the food industry. And I saw that they were engineering these hyperpalatable concentrations of starch and sugar and fat and excitotoxins and salt. Oh. And it's all designed to hit the bliss point in your reptilian brain without giving you enough nutrition to feel satisfied, right? And the result is you want more and more and more, and too much is never enough. And
and I think that's fascinating. And in case you folks don't really grasp that yet, again, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever it was, the first time I heard that, it made so much sense. But it was, if you eat a banana, how many bananas can you eat? Like 1.5. If you eat an apple, 1.5, maybe 2 apples. If you're, but if you're eating potato chips, how many potato chips can you eat? A bag? A whole bag? 2 bags? Yeah. And he's right. We never get that it's always like, I could eat some more chips. How many have you taken a handful of chips and then you took another handful and then another handful? Because they manufactured our food to make us dependent on that food. Is that right, Glenn?
They do. Yeah. And, speaking about chips, they're usually manufactured on a multitude of assembly lines, each with a slight variation in flavor, microscopic variation in flavor, to stimulate the variety response. Because in nature, when you'd find a variety of flavors, it would indicate there was a variety of micronutrients available, a diversity of micronutrients. But here they're not really adding
Oh,
nutrients, they're just slightly varying the flavor. The same with the diverse colored packaging. In nature, if you eat the rainbow, you're going to get more well nourished. But with most of these bags and boxes and containers, all that's happening is some fat cat in a white suit with a mustache is laughing all the way to the bank.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. And if you eat the
because
rainbow here, you're getting Skittles or something, aren't you? I think that's what.
yeah, yeah. I'm not going to point to any one particular company, so I can
Yeah.
so I don't
I'll
get
point
mad.
to them
Yeah,
because
okay.
it's all of them. Actually, it's all of them. But
Be
yeah.
my guest. Be my guest. Be my guest. Yeah. So that was an outside force. I realized that had nothing to do with my personal psychology. Um, then I also realized that you know we're told that having really strong cravings is a problem. Like it's a problem with us, even to the
Oh,
extent that you might be told it's a mysterious disease or there's like a chronic progressive problem inside of you and that you have no ability to take power over it. But if you think back 100,000 years ago, we had to be we had to have strong cravings. As a matter of fact, the people who had stronger cravings would be more likely to survive because we had to be very good at finding at, at identifying signals that there was calories and nutrition available and then it being motivated to go find it. And so the fact that we can attach this motivation to signals in the environment that lead to the acquisition of calories is a sign that our brain is functioning in a healthy, normal body. It's just that in the modern food environment, it's not healthy. Um,
yeah.
so long story short, I came to the conclusion that I really had to take control over this thing. It was not really about loving my inner wounded child or nurturing it back to health. It was more about erecting some very solid defenses and very practical things I could do to wake up when this thing was happening. Because you can walk out of a fast food restaurant and see another one right across the street, right? And no matter where you
Absolutely.
go,
That's right. That's absolutely
yeah,
right.
it's ubiquitous. It's
Yeah.
ubiquitous.
And you'd said
Um,
now is this part of the three thing you said because I interrupted you when you said there were three things that put you on the right track or something like that, and I interrupted you.
well, I mean, then there was the advertising industry, which is very good at making you believe that you need this. And we think advertising doesn't affect us, but it actually affects you more when you think that because your sales resistance is down.
That's right. And their subliminal messages just eat us alive, and if we get to
Yeah.
eat their stuff.
Then I actually did a really big study with 40,000 people when internet clicks were cheap, and
Oh wow.
I intercepted them when they were looking for ways to manage their stress, and I would ask them, give them a little personality profile, and I would ask them what foods they struggled with when they couldn't stop eating and when they were stressed. And I found that it looked like there was a correlation. Like people that struggled with chocolate, like me, tended to be a little bit more lonely or brokenhearted or a little depressed, and
Oh,
people that struggled with crunchy, um, salty like chips and pretzels and things, they tended to be stressed at work, and the people who struggled with soft, chewy things like bread or pasta or bagels, they tended to be stressed at home. And I had this conversation with my mom. This is really what convinced me. It seemed like a eureka moment, but then it actually only made things worse. What happened was I asked my mom why would I have such a hard time with chocolate. Like I knew I was a little depressed or lonely, and my marriage wasn't going that well. And my mom is a psychotherapist also, and she said, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry."
oh,
She looked like really embarrassed and ashamed. And I said, "Mom, whatever it is, I'm just trying to figure this out. It was I was in my early 40s then, so it was 40 years ago. Why don't you just kind of tell me what happened? I forgive you. I love you. I just want to figure this out." And she said, "Well, when you were 1 year old in 1965, your father was a captain in the army, and they were talking about sending him to Vietnam, and I was terrified that I was going to be an army widow. And then your grandfather, my father, was just out of prison, and I had no idea where he was for several years, and I had idolized him. I didn't know that he was guilty, and he was guilty. And as a consequence, I was just too depressed and anxious to really take care of you. And you'd come running over to me looking to play, or you wanted a hug, or you just wanted some love. And I would say, Glenn, go get your Bosco. I kept a bottle of Bosco chocolate syrup in a refrigerator on the floor, and you'd go crawling over to it and you'd take it out of the refrigerator and you go into a little chocolate sugar coma. Um, and I think that's why when you feel upset, you go, now, I thought Eureka. If this were the movies, then mom and I would have a big hug and a big cry, and there would be no problem with chocolate after that, right? But
That's
what
right.
actually,
Yeah, that's right. Once we found the problem, it solved everything.
yeah, what actually happened was it got worse because there was
Oh,
this,
really?
mhm, it's like there was this little voice of justification inside me. And what it would say was, you know what, Glenn, you're right.
Oh.
Our mama didn't love us enough, and she left a great big chocolate sized hole in your heart. And until you can get out of this marriage and find the love of your life, you're going to have to just keep on binging on chocolate. Let's go get more. Yippee. And at that point, I kind of put things together. I'd been studying neurology a little bit, and I recognized that the part of the brain that responds to addiction doesn't really know love. It's a very primitive part of the brain. It's like eat, mate, or kill. It's not, has nothing to do with your higher values. And so here I am trying to love myself thin, but this part of the brain that says just hand over the chocolate and nobody gets hurt, it's a very primitive part of the brain that knows nothing about love. So I said, okay, I'm going to have to be the alpha wolf of my own mind, much like I am with my bladder. Like, for example, I kind of have to pee right now, but I'm in the middle of an interview. I have other things I'm trying to accomplish, and I'm a civilized human being. So I'm not going to pee right now. It's just going to have to wait until after my interview with Steve. Um, I don't run out and kiss attractive women in the street. I act like a civilized person because I'm the boss, not my bodily functions. And I said to myself,
Right.
this is just another bodily function. This is just another bodily urge that I have to control. So this part is embarrassing, Steve. I'm always a little embarrassed because I'm actually a sophisticated psychologist and I've got really great credentials. But the way that I got better was pretty crazy. I decided that this thing inside me that wanted me to break my rules. For example, maybe I'd have a rule that said I'll never have chocolate during the week. This thing inside me that would look at the chocolate bar at Starbucks and say, you worked out hard enough, you can just start your silly diet again tomorrow. Um,
Yeah.
I said, that's not me. That I'm going to call that my inner pig. I wish I called it something different, but I called it my inner pig. Remember, I wasn't going to teach this stuff, right? I wasn't going to write about it. I was just going
Yeah.
to do it. That's my inner pig. That's not me. Then I
I
would
like that
say,
actually. I like inner pig. That's really cool.
what are you going to do? So that's not me. That's my pig. Chocolate on a Wednesday is pig slop. Anything that's not on my plan is pig slop. So chocolate is pig slop. I don't eat pig slop, and I don't let farm animals tell me what to do. And as ridiculous as it sounds, that's what finally gave me those few extra microseconds at the moment of impulse to start to make the right decision. It wasn't a miracle cure, but what did happen immediately was that things were clearer to me. I didn't feel like there was this mysterious entity inside of me. I felt like I had all these justifications for breaking my rules, reversing my best intent, and I just needed to. I'm sorry about the garbage truck. I just needed
That's,
to
that's all
figure
right.
out how to deal with
Everybody
that.
recognized it. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear the? Can you hear it? Maybe not. Um,
Yeah.
so what I did is I then started to say, well, how can I disempower those thoughts? Now that I'm aware of those thoughts, how can I disempower them? So I would do a little research. Is it true that you can just start tomorrow? That it'll be easier to just start your diet again tomorrow? Well, first of all, it would never just be a couple of bites. Like the pig would say,
Oh,
oh, one
yeah.
bite's not going to, it's never just a couple of bites. Secondly, there's this principle in neurological research called neuroplasticity. What it says is that what fires together wires together. So if I think, just start your diet tomorrow, it'll be just as easy, and then I reward that thought with chocolate, I'm more likely
Ooh,
to have that thought tomorrow. So if you're in a hole, stop digging.
that's a
You
really
have
good
to use the
point. Yeah. Yeah. That, I mean,
right.
that's a fantastic point. And I mean, I do that with, I got my gym right over here on the other side of my office. And that's what I talk to me. And I've done that for 20 years because I'll work out for 3 months and then I'll take a week off. It's like, it's okay. I've been working out for 3 months. I'll take a week off. And that week turns into 4 weeks, which turns into 8 weeks. And before you know it, I've had 2 months off. and I'm back to square one in my exercise. And I'm always unhappy with the fact that I did it. And exactly what you said with this is it's really true. When we postpone it, we say, okay, I can make it up tomorrow. Your body says, well, that's like you say, you rewarded yourself for not doing what you should have done.
You'd
And
be
that's
infinitely
crazy,
better
isn't it?
off, by the way, doing 5 minutes a couple of times over the week that you want to be a little soft, as opposed to just taking the whole week off. Not that you can't
Yeah.
take a week off of exercise, but if you want to maintain the habit, just 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I kept a journal for 8 years, and that journal eventually became my first book when I got divorced.
Oh,
Um, Became very successful. I had over 1 million readers, and then I wound up writing a blog for Psychology Today, and that got over 1 million readers. And before I knew it, I could be in a bookstore, and once in a while, someone will come over to me, and they don't quite recognize me, but they just say, "Pig guy, you're the pig guy."
oh.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's cool.
after that point, we worked with about 2,000 clients, and I learned a lot more things. Mostly that um, at first it was all about fixing your thinking. So all the crazy things that the pig would say, we would figure out how to disempower it with logic. And that made a really big difference for people. But then there was inevitably this point where people would say, well, just screw it, I'm just going to do it anyway. And I became very interested in that response. And it turns out that the reptilian brain has the ability to push our rational brain offline. If it perceives, either rationally or irrationally, the sense of emergency, it says, we need more resources to deal with this. Forget your thinking, forget all your best intentions, just do it, just hand over the chocolate and nobody gets hurt. And I learned that there are a number of things that can disempower that response. One of them is having regular, reliable nutrition, so your brain doesn't think that you're living in a feast and famine environment where calories could be scarce, so it better hoard them. Another one is to try to eliminate some decisions from your day, not just food decisions, but like email decisions and who's going to take Jenny to soccer practice kind of decisions. Try to make those beforehand as much as possible, because decisions wear down your willpower. This is why people have a harder time eating well at night. They get up with the best of intentions, but then they're making food decisions all day long and email decisions all day long. And at nighttime, they have a lot less willpower. So try to make less decisions. Even a 5 minute break twice a day, where you just kind of step away from all input and take a couple of breaths, can make a really big difference. I learned that your sleep makes a difference in whether or not your brain perceives there to be an emergency and tell you to just screw it, just do it, and be less discriminating with food. Um, I
Yeah,
learned that your brain,
I suffer from really bad sleeping habits. I mean, I wake up like every 90 minutes. If I sleep a long time, it's a 2.5 hour cycle, and so I'll go to bed at 9:30 at night, and I'm up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Not because I want to be, because I'm still pretty tired most of the time, but and then I'll end up taking an hour and a half nap throughout the day somewhere. But it's when you're tired, you're like, I'm so tired. I deserve this mashed potatoes, right? I
yeah.
deserve this. And so it is. My wife says you have emotional eating habits. And I go, yeah, but I'm not very emotional in that phrase, but you are internally, right?
Well, that's not really an emotional eating habit. That's an authentic physiological need that makes your brain perceive that you're going to need more resources. Like you're not getting enough sleep. It's not able to recharge your willpower the way that it needs to. It's not, people think of emotional eating like I'm going to quote unquote numb out to escape this uncomfortable emotion because I'm too anxious or sad. Um, it's not exactly how it works, by the way, but people think that. But this is more of a Steve, you got to sleep. You need some
Yeah.
sleep in your. You can counter that by making very clear rules so that you don't have to make decisions about food as much during the day. You can counter that by planning out what you might eat at night if you happen to get up and you have to have something and have it sitting there and waiting for you in Tupperware on the table. I know people who were binging like crazy at night, and we had them just put a banana or two in a piece of Tupperware sitting and waiting for them. And they would do that and they would just kind of scratch the itch enough that they could get back to bed. And then eventually they eliminated the nighttime eating altogether. But that's
Yeah,
an
that's
authentic
cool.
need. That's not really an emotional.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
You
So
know, and
that's
that's
what's it.
as the people, yeah, as the people listening to us, one of the things that we have to ask you is that when you're having a problem eating or when you're having a problem on your diet, matter of fact, now might be a great time, Glenn. Why don't you give them some? How do they get in touch with you? If somebody says, "Yeah, but you don't understand my situation," or "Yeah, but mine's not chocolate, mine's something else." Well, reach out to Glenn. Glenn, how do they get a hold of you?
Oh, just go to defeatyourcravings.com. You can get a free copy of the book in Kindle, Nook, or PDF format there.
Say it
Defeatyourcravings.com.
again.
Click
Say it again.
de-
Defeatyourcravings.com. Right. So give them time.
defeat
We
your
got to give them
cravings.
time to write it down so they're reaching for their ink pens or, because if they're driving, they got to save part of this. Defeatyourcravings.com. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, no, and so you'll get a free copy of the book there in Kindle, Nook, or PDF format. There are a bunch of cravings defeating MP3s and cheat sheets, and there's a whole summary of the science of cravings extinction, which most people don't understand, and we haven't really gotten to talk about it. You'll get a free copy of that also, and some recorded sessions where you can watch me coaching people through the process. This is all free.
That
Defeatyourcravings.com.
that'd be cool, wouldn't it? If you guys have the opportunity to listen to him coaching other people, think of the insights you can gain from that. Wow, that'll be cool.
Well, yeah, because it sounds kind of weird in the abstract. Like, why does Steve have this doctor on who's got a pig inside of him? And it sounds like it's kind of cruel, but it's actually a very compassionate process, and it takes people from feeling hopeless and despairing and powerless about food to feeling
Yeah.
confident
Well,
and
you said
enthusiastic.
something. Yeah, you said something earlier, which is, if you program it out, like if you know what you have, if you get up at night, you need to binge eat or something like that, and like this is, I don't know, I don't remember what day it is, but I just started my calorie reduction, weight reduction. Anyway, I want to lose 40 pounds, right? So, what I learned, and I just picked this up somewhere before I scheduled you on the thing, was you have to lay it out and really be willing to stick to it. So, like this morning, I looked at my wife and she said, "So, what's on for today?" I said, "Well, I'm on my, what do they call it, fasting." So, I fast. Now, I ate something at 3:30 in the morning. So, I blew my fast off. But it was a piece of toast with 3 slices of bacon. Okay, and then I wasn't going to eat anything else. So then I go exercise. So I exercised here at 5. Then I went and played pickleball at 8 till 10, and then I was able. I said, okay, between 10 and 2, I can have my smoothie. And there's my smoothie, right? And it has enough protein and calories and stuff to keep my body working. And of course, I'm not going to completely. If I said, "Well, I have to have something else to eat," then you'll try and get something small. But I've set myself up for a win today, so that I
Mhm.
won't eat a large meal until we have dinner tonight, and we're going to split a steak. We're going to have asparagus. We're going to have mushrooms, and that's our meal for the evening. So, I'm really looking forward to that meal tonight because that's what I get to have. It's not like I can stop and have a sandwich like I've always done. I've always had a sandwich, a toast with feta cheese in the morning, then a sandwich partially through, and then something else, and then something else, and then always a snack and always something else to eat. So, yeah, when learning from Glenn is going to be a powerful thing. So, if you guys can certainly go to defeatyourcravings.com, you'll get more insights. And I'll bet you somewhere on his website he has a way for you to reach out and talk to him.
You can certainly hit the contact button if you want to, but if you sign up for the free book and the recorded coaching sessions, you'll be led to everything that we offer. Um, you know, contact coaching, um, podcast, everything. It's all there.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'll be
Yeah.
cool.
Steve, if you want to, you could take this out of the recording if you don't think I should have said this, but if you want me to, we could do a recording sometime where I coach you through sticking to your plan if you really want to. I
Oh,
just wanted
that'd
to
be
offer you
cool.
because there's a lot I could say here which we don't really have time to talk
Okay.
about. We start people with one simple rule. I usually don't start them on a whole plan. Weight loss is not the first goal that we have. Our goal is to help people know that they can make a rule and stick to it so that they feel in control. And then most of our people do lose weight. The tagline of the book is the back door to weight loss, because paradoxically, if you focus too much on weight loss, then that creates a sense of emergency in the brain also. It's
Oh,
like, oh my God, this is not happening this is not happening fast enough. It's all about the
oh
scale.
yeah. How many
Um,
times from the listener's point of view, how many times have we said, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to lose 20 pounds, and then a week goes by and you lost a pound and you go, well, this is not worth it. And you went back
yeah,
to what you were doing. So that's a
yeah,
really good point.
yeah. So we try to make weight loss the secondary end goal unless doctors tell them that it's urgent. And paradoxically, we find that we get many more people who lose weight and keep it off than when we originally focused more directly on weight loss. But because overeating becomes a problem when you're making food decisions based upon whim and impulse and emotion. And if you can survey your eating landscape and move your difficult food decisions to your intellect, make those decisions with your head, you're in much better shape. I don't tell anybody what to eat, how to eat. I'm not a dietitian or a medical doctor. I do tell them to eat. I find that it doesn't work well if they're just having one meal a day or trying to fast for a week at a time. You can't really use these systems to make that work. Um, but if they're willing to have any reasonable, regular, reliable nutrition, then we can usually help them. So yeah, and you
Well,
start with
what
one simple
interesting
rule.
thing there. Yeah, we had a friend a while back who, when she decided to lose weight, she got on some kind of medication the doctor gave her for something, and she started to just drop weight. Well, but she didn't do any exercising. She didn't do anything to do that, and within 3 months, she'd lost a lot of weight, but she looked bad, right?
Mhm.
Because she wasn't toned and her skin was saggy, and so it's interesting how people, wow, I want to lose weight and I'm going to look fabulous, and then they don't. Right?
Yeah,
Is that a problem for
yeah.
a lot of people?
It's a problem because you're putting yourself on a feast and famine roller coaster, and you need to like prioritize nutrition and self care and living a different kind of lifestyle if you really want to take it off and keep it off. Yeah, yeah. And most of my
Yeah.
people
And
are
so
amazed.
when you really,
I was going to say most of my people are amazed once they're a month or two into the process. First of all, they've usually lost some weight, but they're amazed at how unimportant that feels compared to just how much better they feel being in control, having less junk going through their system. You know, like if you eat more, I kind of wish people would stop arguing about whether they should have animals versus vegetables. I mean, I eat mostly a
oh,
vegetable-based diet, but I wish people would stop arguing about that and just move away from the processed junk and eat more whole foods. Because I find
oh,
the more whole foods people eat, the less food they feel like they really need. So there's not that constant, agitation. The more satisfied they are with their food, and the fewer calories they wind up consuming as a whole. So it really is
well,
the processed food that does most of the damage.
and when you talk about processed food, it's funny because I remember, again, 20 years ago, and I still see it today, but I remember somebody said, you ought to eat more vegetables. And then I went to, let's say, Sam's Club, which is where we shop now. But there was, like in the chip, where the bags of chips are, there was this thing called vegetable straws or something, and it was like, oh, good, I can eat veggies that are
Right,
that are made
right.
like that. And of course, you take them home, and first of all, they didn't taste very good, but they were like cheese puffs. And suddenly you go, well, that's not a vegetable. That can't be healthy for me. And then you read the ingredients, you realize no matter what those people say, when you're eating crap, processed food type stuff, you're eating bad, and it's not going to make your body feel good.
You see what the consumer wants. I remember I spent a lot of time on the wrong side of the war consulting for the food industry. The consumer doesn't necessarily want to eat healthy. They want plausible deniability. They want to think that they're eating healthy.
Yeah,
They want, potato chips made with avocado oil or
yeah,
oatmeal added
that's
to
right.
my chocolate cake. That's what the consumer
Yeah,
really wants. Yeah,
that's right.
there's a
Hey, this is
growing. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to say
no. Go ahead.
there's a groundswell of people that are starting to really understand nutrition and teach themselves and their kids and everyone else how to eat healthy. But for the most part, the masses are looking for bags and boxes and containers with plausible deniability. So, and you
Yeah.
you can eat some.
Yeah.
You don't have to
That's
give up any
unfortunate, but
particular.
it's true because we've been raised that way. No. Yeah, we've been raised that way, and unfortunately, we've been raised with all kinds of stuff. Like we need to obey and we need to follow. And nobody says, "Look out for the messages you get from your TV that tell you to eat Captain Crunch every day and how good it is for you." It's like it's not.
Yeah,
Right? Even if the
yeah.
TV tells you it is, it's not. Anyway, Glenn, we're at 30 minutes. I told you I have on 30 minutes, and I really appreciate your time. And give them your information one more time so they can reach out.
Go to defeatyourcravings.com, click the big blue button for a free copy of the book, a set of recorded coaching sessions, and a set of food plan starter templates, which will show you some sample rules you can use for any dietary philosophy: high carb, low carb, a vegetarian, carnivore. Defeatyourcravings.com,
That'll
click the big blue button.
that'll be cool. Okay, you guys reach out. Click the big blue button. Glenn, hang on. I'm going to end the recording. And if you guys need to reach out to me, I'm Steve at stevesapato.com. You certainly can look me up at stevesapatoseminars.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you. Remember, subscribe to the Happiness Agenda. You'll be happy that you did. God bless.
Thanks, Steve.